Hi everyone, Katie Sutton here, intuitive channel and founder of Zen Within Academy, live with your September 2021 energy update. We have 4 themes this month that I'd like to talk with you about. The first is finding your flow. The second is spiral of time. The third is releasing illusions. And the fourth is embracing the child within. So stay tuned for the rest of the energy update. Hi everyone, I hope you had a really good August. I know it was kind of an intense month. We had Lionsgate and we had all of this energy clearing out after Lionsgate was completed. And I know that many of you have been experiencing a lot of endings because that was a huge theme as we cleared out August. But as we move into September, I'm noticing that we're going to get a bit more support and a bit more flow back in the energies as we move through this month. So the first thing that I want to talk with you about is this idea of finding your flow. And as I was winding down August, what I started to notice is that this huge theme of neutrality and finding neutrality amongst chaos was coming back around for us to work with again. And specifically this time, it was showing up in the mental body, in our ability to release anywhere where we're holding on to worry or worry loops or rabbit holes that we find ourselves getting stuck in, and being able to pull back as the conscious observer and drop back into our flow and our understanding of why we came here and what we're doing in this moment. And it's very easy for us to get wrapped up in what's happening in the outside world, and finding that balance of having compassion and empathy and being engaged in what's happening with everyone around us and taking care of ourselves is something that I think we're all working on this whole year. And this month specifically, at the beginning of September, we're being asked to turn back to the areas where we do have flow and to put more of our energy towards those areas and pull out of any places where we're not in flow. And this is not just specific to the mental body, it's specific to all of the different aspects of us. But I'm finding that within the mental body especially, we are being called to separate a little bit more from those loops. And, you know, we've got a lot of Virgo energy as we move into September. And I happen to be married to a Virgo, and Virgos like structure. They like to know what's coming at them. They like control, and they like to have a plan. And so it's really easy for us as we start this month to get caught up into all of that and forget to be in joy and forget to be in flow. And so it's going to take a little bit of extra work for us at the beginning of September to maintain that grace and ease, right? And to pull out of these stories. So a few things that might help you. One is meditation. 2 is music and creative art, therapy, and movement. And the third is nature time. And so those 3 things are more feminine in nature and allow us to pull out of these really strong masculine mental body energies that are going to be very present at the beginning of September. And that takes me into our second theme, which is this idea of the spiral of time and understanding our cycles. So when we are in a busy cycle, meaning when we're in a productive cycle, it's important that we lean into that without question. And when we are in a time where we need to nurture and rest and provide tenderness to ourselves, we also need to lean into that without question. And the hard thing about this is that we've been so conditioned on this planet to believe that time is limited and that we don't ever have enough time and that we have to make good use of our time. And that has pulled us out of our flow, our natural cyclical rhythm. And on an expanded scale, this idea of the spiral of time is coming in the collective consciousness as well, because we're being asked to revisit certain situations that we've moved through as a human collective in the past. If you look at what has been happening in the last year and a half with the epidemic that we have moved through, this has happened on this planet before. And what we've been offered this time around is how can we meet this challenge that we've experienced as a human collective before in a higher frequency? And the same thing is happening in Afghanistan right now, where we are being asked to meet this challenge in a higher frequency. This is not new, what we're experiencing on the world stage, but we're being asked, can we meet this exact same situation that may have different nuances to it, but the essence of it is the same, and a higher frequency. And believe it or not, I see that we are. It may not always feel that way, but I see that we are. And on an individual level, it's the same. How can you meet a challenge that feels familiar or feels similar in nature to something that you've been through before at a higher frequency? And if we were to really zoom out of our life and look at the spiral and the cycles that we follow as a human, we would notice that every time a similar challenge is presented to us, we have two options. Either we can go down the same path that we went down before, or we can explore a new way. And I believe if we are in the process of doing our work and working on awakening and working on being our best selves, that we will always meet those same cycles at a higher frequency. And here's the thing that I find most people getting stuck in that paradigm, though, is they say to me, why am I going through this lesson again? Why am I moving through this relationship pattern again? Or why am I getting stuck in this same rabbit hole again? And what I often ask them to do is zoom out of that story of why is this happening to me again, and look at the differences in the circumstance. Look at how perhaps they've met this circumstance differently than they have in the past. Look at how quickly they moved through the lesson or the change. Look at where they were able to surrender, where they weren't able to surrender before. And so we're starting to understand that time is not linear, right? And we're starting to become more and more aware of our patterns and our cycles. And it's important that we bring a little bit of amusement to this. So if I could offer you one frequency to deal with this idea of the spiral of time, the best thing to bring forward is amusement, right? Oh, isn't it funny that here I am yet again doing the same thing that I've done before? And if we can bring that amusement and bring that lightness, it's easier for us to separate from that situation and make a different choice. But when we bring a lot of serious perfection energy to it, it's really difficult to make a new choice. It's really difficult to see the lightness and the joy in the situation that we're moving through. And the fact of the matter is, if you have a soul contract in this lifetime to work on a particular pattern, you're going to be working on it for your entire time here, right? It may look different. It may become easier. It may become more joyful. But those patterns are going to keep repeating at a higher and higher frequency until you've completed that soul contract. And a lot of times we won't complete those soul contracts until we decide to leave this planet. And so it's important that we find joy and we find our flow whenever we can, because it's really easy to get caught up in the day-to-day doldrums if we don't. And as you heard in the first theme, this idea of finding your flow, it's important that we pull out of that. And so that takes me to the third theme, and this one is multifaceted. So I've titled it Releasing Illusions, but what I really wanted to title it was Releasing the Illusion of Power. But when I was checking in with my guides, they said it's actually a bit more expanded than that. So let me talk about this facet of illusion and power first of all. So as I've been in meditation and doing my own personal work, what I've noticed is that as more and more of the 3D matrix is cleared out, which is what's happening on our planet, every experience that we are moving through right now is serving to clear out more and more of that third dimensional reality and all of those constructs. As that energy is clearing, we are being asked to decouple ourselves from those 3D matrices. And that looks a lot like us letting go of any illusions of safety and power that we've held, that we believe those systems are creating for us. And I've talked about this before, but what I'm seeing this month as we move into September is really a desire to release the idea of power and hierarchy. And a lot of us have subscribed to different systems of power and different hierarchies just because that's the norm. right? I am working with so many people right now who are leaving corporate jobs where they felt like that was the best that they could do. And I think that this experience that we've been moving through as a collective, this epidemic, has allowed us to have a new view of what is really important. It's shifted all of our priorities. And so when we're releasing illusion, it's really important that we're looking at any illusions that we've subscribed to, where we've given our power away and we've felt like we didn't have any other option. The fact of the matter is there's always another option. Now, is that option better or worse than the situation that you're in? That's up to you to determine, right? But when we start to break down illusion, we start to really take a hard look at ourselves and where we're not being in our accountability and our own responsibility, and where we've placed ourselves beneath someone or something else. And if we want to have equality and unity on this planet, we first have to have that unity within. And so as we start to look at where we've given our power away and all of these illusions of safety that we've created, it will kind of be almost like somebody's thrown cold water on our face. We'll start to wake up to patterns that we have subscribed to that we don't necessarily need to carry, that aren't even our truth. They'll start to feel very unnatural and very almost like the shoe is too small, right? And when you start to notice those differences in alignment, meaning where you start to feel into a situation and it no longer feels like it fits, it's important that you pay attention to that and release any illusions that would say, I have no other choice but to stay involved in this situation exactly as it is. And this doesn't mean that you have to leave the job or you have to leave the relationship, but it may mean that the way that you show up in that job or the way that you show up in that relationship needs to change. And so when we release illusion, we have to take responsibility on the other side, that we chose to be a part of that illusion. And it's really easy to get angry. And so I've been noticing so much anger clearing out with this theme, where we have given our power away to somebody else or some other thing and thought that that was the only way. And then all of a sudden we realize that we're resentful of that person, that place, or that thing. And then instead of taking responsibility that we need to make a new choice and separate from that pattern or that situation, we get angry at that thing that we think is controlling us still. And we are only able to have something have power over us if we choose for that to be the case, right? Now, that choice may be very unconscious. And so part of releasing this illusion energy is releasing any unconscious energy that we carry that would say that we're completely powerless in these situations, right? So if we're releasing the illusion, we're also concurrently taking responsibility and accountability for how we're showing up and the choices that we're making. And so that moves me into this fourth theme. So the fourth theme is about embracing the child within, but it's also about embracing the courageous child within. So if you think back to your childhood, or maybe you think about some child that exists in your life that you've witnessed, until that child is told that the reality that they've created for themselves isn't true, they are able to hold that construct completely. They're able to stay in their imagination. They're able to stay connected to their intuition. They're able to stay connected to source, and they love themselves wholly and completely. But at some point in time, something happens to that child, or someone says something to that child that makes them start to disconnect from that truth. And so the fourth theme this month, and the one that I'll be focusing on in our healing circle, is this idea of embracing the child within and embracing the courage and kind of the naivete of that child within. And I don't mean naivete in that we're supposed to go around and pretend like everything's okay. I mean reclaiming some of that childlike innocence and that childlike wonder and that hope for the world. So right off of releasing the illusion, we're going to be clearing out a lot of bitterness and a lot of resentment and a lot of anger. And then really quickly, we're going to reclaim joy and childlike wonder and curiosity and courage and strength. And all of these things that we have said no to by subscribing and prescribing ourselves to be aligned to these power structures. And so I see embracing the child within as the antidote to everywhere where we've given our power away. And I don't know about you all, but I can think of times in my childhood where I was so in my courage and I believed something and nobody could tell me that it wasn't true. And sometimes we need a little bit of that childlike stubbornness in order to anchor this new earth frequency that we're all cultivating. Because a lot of the things that I know that you all are being asked to do and that I'm being asked to do are very much outside of our comfort zone. They're outside of what we've always known. And so when we can embrace that child within and call their courage and their strength and their wonder back to us, we have an ability to anchor in higher frequencies of light on this planet and create the new earth that we've all been dreaming into being. And there will be people that tell you, oh my God, you're crazy for quitting your 9-to-5 job that feels really solid in these economic times, right? There will be people that will question your sanity when you make choices that are aligned with the new earth. But if you can embrace that childlike wonder, what you're also embracing is your true connection to source and your intuition and your gut instinct. And you will be able to follow that energy thread and find your flow again, right? So this fourth theme is kind of the antidote to all of these other things that I've talked about in the month of September. It's very, very important that we reclaim the strength of that inner child. And a lot of my work with my clients and with all of you who come to my healing circles and are in the community is about healing the childhood trauma that we carry. But we also have to reclaim the light that exists underneath that. That is actually so important to our collective consciousness. And it's important that we foster that for our own children that exist on this planet. And this is something that has been creating a lot of grief for me personally, is witnessing how the structures that we have in our schooling and our corporate system and what it looks like to be successful really dim the light of our children. And I think that if we're going to create a better world for the next generation, we have to create a better world for those of us that exist here and now, and we have to reclaim this inner child innocence and connection. And when we reclaim that, we can have more compassion for the generations that are to come, and we can make better choices as a collective. And so embracing the child within is so, so important. And we need to cultivate that connection. We need to find play. We need to find joy. We need to find our creativity. We need to use our imagination. We need to think outside of the box in order to solve the problems that we have here. And I'm sure that all of you have somebody in your life who's really connected to this frequency. They're probably very joyful and very light and very exuberant and very excitable. And we could judge those people and say, oh my God, they're so naive. They're pretending like this world doesn't suck. Or we can say, I want what they're having. I want to be able to claim some of that as well, with a healthy dose of reality and responsibility and accountability in our adult selves. But we want to balance those two aspects. And so look for this month. Look for places where you can reclaim that childlike energy within. So those are the 4 themes this month. We have quite a lot of energy to move through, as we always do. Things are speeding up. I'm really interested to see our assessment of time after we move through this month. I hear from a lot of you that things are moving faster and faster and manifesting more quickly. And I think if we can start to look at time as this spiral, we can find our flow, we can release illusion, and we can embrace our child within. If we can do all of those things this month, we're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of where we were last month. So hang in there, dear ones. As always, you can find me on this YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you're not a subscriber yet. I post mid-month energy updates as well, and teachings and information and vocal sound healings. My level 1 program that is all about 12th dimensional healing, which is the modality that I channeled, that I teach others in order to claim their energy field and release their sensitivity in the world and be in their power. That is open for enrollment now. There's lots of different ways you can join us in that program. And of course, you can join me on September 15th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for this month's Healing Circle focused on embracing the child within. So it's wonderful to have you all as a part of this community. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful September.